Take a deep breath. Know that you are loved. Take a deep breath. Know that you are loved. Breathe. You've arrived at the Evolving Lover podcast. This transmission is brought to you by the Online University of Love and Sexuality. We would love you to receive all of our podcasts and videos at www.uls.online. Now, here is your host, the funny, thoughtful, and loving Steve Burford. Enjoy.
Today we're going to be talking about what the masculine and feminine is in us, and what the divine masculine and feminine in us is, and how we can get there, because you see so many articles online and people have misunderstandings of what masculine and feminine is, and why men have one thing and women have another, or even if they do, or if we all have the same, and what's really going on with this divine masculine and divine feminine stuff, because it seems like we all want to be divine but not really sure how to get there. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So hi to you, Shondra, again.
Hello, Steve. Thank you for inviting me back.
Pleasure to have you. So first question is, what is your view on the masculine and feminine and what's gone on with it? Because I think everyone understands we have masculine and feminine in us, but we don't really understand what it is. So, bit of a big question, but can you provide an answer for people who are a little bit unsure of what's going on with this masculine and feminine thing?
Well, it is a very big topic, and I could speak on it for hours. And just to look at it in the simplest view, yes, we each have a physical body which has one gender, and somewhere we also have both genders present in some way or other. The easiest way for me to think about it is that the masculine element shows up predominantly in our culture through consciousness. And our culture is driven by the masculine energies that are the dominant ones on the planet at this time. The masculine energies have been dominant for probably a few thousand years at least. And although we know there have been matriarchal cultures on the planet at times, our entire global culture is, for the most part, masculine in nature, and the feminine element is somewhat subordinate or just submissive and not the dominant one. So we see that in many realms, especially in the working world. The masculine energies, regardless of the gender of the person using them, is what's dominating. Even women that are in business, they mostly wear pants, they mostly work from their heads, they're intelligent and working from the intellectual. So we all have this masculine conscious element. So where is the feminine? There's lots of people in feminine bodies. Where is the feminine in even in men? The feminine element we can see more predominant in the physical level, the embodiment. So if we have the masculine mind, we have the feminine in the body. The body is what feels. And yes, you can dominate your body with your head and pretend that your body isn't feeling. And we know that a lot of people are sick because they're not listening to their bodies, they're just listening to their heads. So our feminine is very present in our bodies, and we can tune in with how our body feels, how our hearts feel. These are the feminine elements that we can look at in ourselves and in others.
So there's confusion for some people where if a man engages his feminine side, then he suddenly becomes a transvestite or something like that. No offense to transvestites. Or the illusion that if a woman engages her masculine, that she won't be feminine anymore, and she'll lose that prettiness, the fun, the freedom, and all those things that she might associate with the feminine. Why do we have this illusion in our culture that that is the case?
Okay, I think the misunderstanding that you're talking about is actually coming in from our own mentalization about it, because every man who is a chef and creates wonderful creations of culinary delight is engaging his feminine. And there's lots of chefs in the world that aren't transvestites. Again, no offense to transvestites. We all are using the whole gamut. It's just one element or the other is dominant within each embodiment. A woman who is a CEO at the head of a large corporation is engaging a lot of her masculine. She's engaging a phenomenal amount of the direction and the managerial qualities, the what shall we say, the intellectual command of language.
Just to interrupt you, because I'm thinking that maybe is that we actually kind of scared of each other. Like the masculine has this fear of the feminine, and the feminine has a fear of the masculine. And would you agree with that? And if so, what can we do about it?
Well, there absolutely is a fear between the masculine of the feminine and the feminine of the masculine. And all of that is like programmed in from cultural attitudes, from our parents, from our families. It's not natural per se, and it's part of what we chose to engage when we came into embodiment. It's part of what fuels our experiences of having this experience of ourselves as feminine or as masculine, and experiencing that separation between the genders, where they're not integrated in a conscious and graceful way.
Yeah, I understand that, and society and culture has perpetuated the illusion that we're these separate, completely different beings. I mean, I still can't believe that Raw Attraction is the only magazine for men and women actually trying to put us together so we understand each other. And yeah, we have this fear, this ridiculous illusion that we are so different, or there's something to fear there, and we can start, I think, personally with forgiveness of the other sex, and then of the masculine and feminine in general. How do we start healing from your point of view? Is it forgiveness? And if it's forgiveness, where do we go from there?
Yes, Steve, I think forgiveness is an excellent place to start. And everywhere where we have placed judgments against others or against parts of ourselves, forgiveness and love is totally in order, and it's part of the healing, if you will, of this abyss of separation between the genders and between the masculine and the feminine within our own beings. So yes, forgiveness is a very important thing to engage as we move forward in our healing and being able to flow with both the masculine and the feminine within our own being. And beyond forgiveness, there is the embracing with love and with gratitude, with deep gratitude and appreciation for that other part of us, that other person, the other gender. The appreciation and the gratitude is what paves a path, paves a way, opens a path for us to the reconciliation and the restoration between the two genders, so that we bring them together in that place of harmony and love, and where it becomes possible to have the sacred union within.
Great, sounds awesome. And these are all things we'll be covering in the University of Love and Sexuality, which is at the universityofloveandsexuality.com. Final question today is about the divine masculine and feminine, and you hear on the internet quite a lot, and people posting about what the divine masculine and feminine is. And I even saw one article that went viral, which was fuck the divine masculine and feminine. This guy just didn't want to know anything about it. He said it was too ambitious and it wasn't even possible. So what is the divine masculine and feminine to you, and is there a way of getting there? Can we do it? Is it possible?
Well, it absolutely is possible, and the soul has to be ready to engage that, because if we're going to engage our divine forms, we have to be ready to be done with our diminished forms. And many people are still just going around in the learning of what it's like to be in the diminished form. So the path to the divine masculine and divine feminine may not be for everyone. However, it is possible, and there are many on the planet that I feel are capable and able to move into these energies even now as we speak. So what are they? Well, if we think about all of the highest qualities that a man could ever be, and we called those into physical form, what would they look like? They would probably look like what I consider the divine masculine. And there are very few people around today that are actually embodying the fullness of all of those. They're more qualities that we aspire to hold at all times, but in practice, we're still working on it. It takes a phenomenal amount of presence and unconditional love, and the most important characteristic of all of the divine masculine is integrity. And if we look around in the world today, where do we find expressions of masculine that carry a full measure, who express a full measure of inner integrity, integrity with self, integrity with others, integrity in the world? It's possible, and for the most part, humanity is really still working on finding inner integrity, finding integrity within their own being. So if we look for the divine feminine, where can we find her? Mostly what we see in the world is what I consider the diminished feminine, the wounded feminine, the fallen feminine. And in order for the feminine to be wakened up into her divine form, believe it or not, it requires an awakened divine masculine. It requires higher consciousness within that person's being to bring forward, to call forward the awakened divine feminine, which holds all the qualities, the highest qualities, and the deepest, most feminine qualities, among which the most important, and it might be a surprise to you, but the most important of all the feminine qualities that is only present in her divine form is divine innocence, the original divine innocence of the feminine. This is what we must call forward, and it can only be done by an awakened higher consciousness, bringing unconditional love forward so that there's a safe place for the innocence to be.
This transmission is brought to you by the Online University of Love and Sexuality. We would love you to receive all of our podcasts and videos at www.uls.online.